That's really nice. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are taking a look at G-I-DLE's Senorita. We have a dance practice and a music video to take a look at. Really liked what I've been seeing so far with this group, and I'm excited to continue on and seeing their more recent years as a group, and I can't wait to get started, so let's go ahead and watch. Ooh. That's fun. I like that. Yeah. Ooh. That's really nice. Oh man, good job on range with all of them doing that, because it allowed us to really see that visual as clearly as we got to see it. That's so cool. Woo. I wonder if they're gonna have skirts in the music video. We'll find out, won't we? If they don't, that's fine, but that looks like you would do skirt choreo to something like that. Woo! I like the fact that it feels looped, right? Where they're adding more to it, and so they're adding more to the movement to justify the added percussion, added sounds outside of just the you know, that little tail end. So I mean, I really liked that ending for sure. We're gonna analyze it, but we got a music video to watch, which is right here. I like the track. It feels very like Mission Impossible vibes, right? Or Pink Panther. It's fun. But that is giving a little bit of that. Some Latin ballroom influence. It feels like that. I keep thinking, like, tango keeps popping up in my head. Who knows if it's that, but I love that sound. That's cool. Vámonos. I wonder what's happening. That looks like a safety hazard. Nice. I like the horns. It makes sense on that part of the music that they showed that because it's the instrument in which that's making the sound. Fun. So it does look like they're in heels for this one too. I was trying to look and see. I love how they're back to stack this. Ready? Probably my favorite part of the song is this part right here. How they built it. Gosh, it's cool. Hey, senor. And we said, oh, we done. You wish. So this part that I was talking about, I was curious if they were going to use a skirt for it. Their dresses were on the shorter side anyway, so even if we saw that excerpt in the music video, I don't think they would have used their skirt for that part, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't. Now I'm curious. Quenched the curiosity. I mean, for the majority of their promotions, they are in more like shorter skirts or short attire. So I'm going to assume that this was not intended for skirtography. But if you do happen to have a skirt, that would make it a fun little extra moment for fabric to swish, swish with lots of fun. Okay, let's talk about this choreo from the top. It is pretty immediate. It really caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, we're starting, but in a great way. Definitely captured my attention and made me want to watch. I mean, yes, I like watching content because I sit here and I do it, but it's really nice whenever I don't have to like intentionally sit down and say, okay, we're about to react to something, you know, and I don't really do that as often, which is, I feel very thankful for the fact that my Patreon has great taste and the marathons I've looked at so far have been freaking sick. So it's made it very enjoyable to sit and enjoy in the chair in this way. But I digress. My point being, this gave me no qualms or issues in watching, I guess is my point. Okay, from the top. Yeah, very strong. And where there's opposition of the heads, Soyeon is the one that clocks forward. Everybody else, it looks like they look to the side. Yeah. And it makes it feel nice because it actually justifies, as Soyeon's head moves front, that rotation or the direction change from side to front. They go from front to side. So it matches and they're already connected as a group for that, even though we haven't seen any of their faces except for hers. Then from there, they dip the shoulder to allow that chest and the upper body to infiltrate through and rotate to the front in a stylized way. Really like that choice. I like the walks here. These walks remind me of, I said it, was it in La Ta? I mean, I've only seen Han and La Ta at this point and whatever they've done in Queendom. So, but I did talk about it felt like a really slow jazz walk of some kind in another one that they did earlier. So I feel like there's an overlap in play here in a good way, meaning that it feels very on brand for G-Idle. I like the walks. You notice they went a little bit lower on that first one, and then they stayed up, and they went low and high. I love that. It definitely feels you're adding some sense of dynamics to your walk. It's not the same thing across, which there's nothing wrong with it, but for the type of track it is nice to have this rotation that's in play. So like with Latin ballroom, what I've learned is creating that figure 8 in the hips, and that's something, I'm gonna be real, like real talk. One of the best things that I've done in my career is teach ballroom dancers how to do hip hop. Here's why. Because we got to barter our services. They taught me ballroom, I taught them hip hop. And what was crazy about it is we're all educators in our fields, and so how we communicate, we're able to communicate on a very like specific level and a high level, which is awesome. But our bodies are so unfamiliar in the movement qualities, in the vocabulary of what we're talking about, and so we kind of feel like they feel like a fish out of water learning how to rock and bounce. I feel like a fish out of water isolating in a different way, specifically in waltz. Ooh, don't try to watch Jess do waltz. She tried. The girl tried. But or in Latin, you know, just understanding where your weight goes with the rotations. It's just so fascinating. So I have such an empathetic lens on people who try ballroom, who are familiar with the street style movement quality, because it is so night and day. It's a completely different movement of language on the body. So I do like it whenever we get to see some hybrid or overlap in it. Are they doing straight ballroom? No. I would say influence of posture at best. I don't think they're doing really any like techniques or fundamentals. But once again, though, remember my field and my scopes tailors more towards the street style scene, not quite as much in the ballroom side. But the music and the track reminds me of Latin ballroom, hence why I bring it up as a relational potential texture that is involved in the choreo. I love the subtlety on that. Well, like I said, they go really deep on the first one, and then they allow the shoulder to be a focal point on the second, and they do it about 2 times to get right there to center. Great spacing for that. Love it. Nice. And they take it up, boom, boom. I really like how she chose to frame it, bringing it around the back and then draping it down the side. It's just a really nice frame because it showcases her range, but it also just makes it very tasteful, and it tailors into everybody else's lack of using their arms for that moment. I think that's so fun. Very easy to clock our feature. She brings it to the inside. Everybody comes in. That little. Now it's like the finger little clicker things, right? There's a name for them. I'm gonna find out what that's called. Okay, castanets is what I think that sound is, but I could be wrong because I'm not proficient at it whatsoever. But is what I think that sound is. So it's a Western a musical instrument that I know so far. Anyway, but I like this choice to bring it over. Boom, nice little twinkle of the fingers is nice. They present themselves out to the side. I really like, honestly, they're one of the few groups where I see such a stylized way of holding on to each other. It's always fun, it's interesting, and it feels like I like kind of isolate all of their poses in which they do kind of make contact with each other, you can make like this really cool montage of just really cool moments in that way. It feels like a fingerprint at this point for me when I look at the group. I'm like, we're gonna do something of a stylized hand connection, which you do see in a lot of groups, but I'm really noticing it based on how they're getting into it, which I think is super fun. The bevel switch is nice. Of course, you notice some of them don't have their knee 100% all the way across and to the diagonal. I would say hers is a little bit more neutral to the front. So if you're wanting to really bump up cleanliness on something, that would be something to look at, is your hips. Are they diagonal? Where are they rotated? Things along those lines. It looks fine. It looks good. I like it. It's just a very subtle note. Really good way to have your feature. Everybody else is looking to her facially, and so we're naturally wanting to look at her. Also, she's the only one moving, so that makes sense too. That boom, I really like that. And we dip into the hip to the other side. I like that little brush as well. Super fun. And it matches that sound, right? Boom, ta-ta, boom, boom, ta-ta. It just feels like our girls are right there hanging out in the instruments. They're diving into the sounds they want to justify. And it helps me very clearly hear what they want me to hear. And that's always an A+ in my book whenever you have a group regardless of how simple or complex choreo is, if they allow me to hear a very specific part of the music when they do something to it, not because I naturally heard it, is always impressive. So I really love that. Even though that sound may have been there the whole time, I didn't register it as a focal point sound until they did that motion, which showcases that they did a great job on the cleanliness side of it, as well as the charisma side to really make it texturized so I can hear it in the context in which it sounds. Super cool. Great musicality. And then notice instead of the brush, they went tap, tap. I like that. It's subtly different. And then she goes, notice they go low and she goes high. I love that pull in the formation or in the levels because it allows us to hear that pull of the tone. Whew. And then she frames her face as well, but she frames it in a subtly different way than you saw your first feature do. But I like the overlap. It kind of feels like everyone is opting to do the same thing, but their own way of doing it. So it's like a similar font, but not the same. Like, it's same words, different font, I guess is the best way to put it. It's cool. Cha. It goes cha. Fun. They go tap, tap, extend up, and then they go rotate that whoosh, that sound, that little it does sound like something is turning or turning on, and it's rotating as it turns on. That's why a turn looks really nice and tasteful to that particular sound, because that's what it correlates to a lot of times. It sounds similar to that, where it feels like a cylinder or something that goes whoosh, like it turns on. It's what it reminds me of, at least. So that's why I really like that choice. Choreographically, I think that was a great choice. And then they go into a nice V, and then you have an accent. Boom, really like that. Notice we do have somebody hidden behind one of your features, which for me, I always give like that 8 count. I hope we see them after an 8 count, but who knows? In this case, they take it, little ball change. That's a little tap tap. I like the tap tap there. And this part does remind me of, maybe not the feet, but the arms remind me of like flamenco, paso doble, those types of styles. Da, da, da. So if anything, posture at best, not really any like heavy fundamentals in play. And I think there's just those little like pose nuggets that make me feel, okay, we're trying to tie this into like a hybrided version of some form of Latin influence, which I think is cool. To the chest, da-da, kiss. So it goes hit, nice and strong, and then they melt into it, da-da, boom, nice melt once again. I don't care, and they throw it away. She goes ding ding, I love that. And then we have a little partner section. Everyone's doing something subtly different. I think it's fun. I love what our feature's doing, where everyone's looking away except for her, so it's easy to clock her, and how they're moving around over to stage right is really fun. They all doom right there on the sound, da-da-da-da, doom. Cool. And then you have your feature. She goes and has her moment. I love it with another dancer. She goes and she grabs. I think that was a fun moment. And it feels like everybody else is supposed to do the same choreo, if that's indeed the case. No. So those in the partners are doing the same thing, but they are doing something different. They went a little bit higher, they went a little bit lower, and then you have your own world over here. I think that's cool. It's nice. I'm okay. Brush the hair, girl. I love it. And everybody goes in. I don't care. They have the arms nice, properly placed. They have those wrists broken to where they all are stylized, ready to go. Then you wind up once again. Doom, doom. But instead of hitting the wind up sound, they're hitting the boom, boom, boom on more of that kind of percussion. And notice with my feature of what we just saw there, she went the opposite way of everybody else. It's because of how she finished her feature moment. So ding ding ding. Yeah, I really feel like that was her part. So she went the opposite, so I made me naturally want to keep watching her, and everybody else went up, she went down, and then we're now tied into doing the same choreo. That's low-key impressive. I like that. I like the shoulders. Oh. Now I did hear, what's her name? Shuha, right? It's my girl right here. Because I love, side note, love the fact that they have their names next to their lyrics on the music videos. It helps people like me, like, pick up on who's who a lot faster. I think that's my girl. I did hear in the earlier works, she struggled with pronunciation, and so she doesn't have as many lines, but I know that was like a huge thing back in the day. I digress. Like, I understand, like, if she requested, she was like, I don't want as many lines because I don't want to get made fun of. Like, I understand that. Also, I wish that we would have more grace in general for people, you know, because for me, I'm appreciative that she's doing this in this way. And I do know too, because of the caliber of like being an idol for a lot of people, there's a certain degree of expectations that are set depending on the generation. And so if you're coming in and your pronunciation isn't up to snuff for the industry that you are in, I know people can be a bit brutal in that, and they are with everything. Just like for me, anytime I post any dance cover ever, or I post my own choreo, or I post these analysis, I am subjected to that same degree of criticism. So I have to keep that in mind whenever I talk about things. But I also can empathize on both sides of it. So my whole point being is that I based on Patreon, you guys have told me the reason, or based on what y'all talked about, reason why she doesn't have like a ton of lines is because she struggled with diction and pronunciation in the earlier eras, but I know she ends up getting way more in the future. All that aside though, I like her movement quality a lot. She does stick out in a great way at times, where I really like how she sits in a lot of these postures. I think it's super fun. So this little part is it's fun. Her it sounds good. I want to listen to it. You know, some people's just sounds like no, you know, but hers is a yeah, I'm here for it. It's great. I like the crawl down using the shoulders. I really love that choice. It's accented and allows a little arch in the back, so it has a little feminine vibe to it. It also feels very feline, this choreo does. I don't know if it was like some of these choices or these choices. It kind of gives that vibe too. I don't know why, but that's just what I'm thinking of. I'm here for it though. There's the little shimmy, dun 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 dun. Really fun. They take it through, boom, right here. There's a see for me, like little cat ears. I don't know. And they switch it do over to the other side. Is really nice. Crawl. Yeah, that boom, do, and over to the front. I will say, let me go back to this one. Was she my first one? I will say, side note, I think my girl, because I just had a conversation about her, and I did say like her movement quality, I liked it here. And you do notice though that about the second half, I don't know what it is. No, I do know. I know what it is. How she resets into the posture as she repeats it. That part did feel a bit on the stiffer side, but I really liked how she sat in it the first time. Second time, she neutralized, and that's why it came across a little bit more pedestrian than styled. So that would be my note to her, because she's even like leaning a little bit more forward when it needs to have that arch in the lower back. And then hit click, and then she hits it through. So that would be my note to her specifically, that boom, da-doon. She also is catering her weight a little too much over on the boom, what was this, doon, da-doon. You can put weight on the right side, but most people put it on the left. Ding, ding, ding. So if you don't put any weight on that right foot when you do that knee and out, which is what you just saw, it's going to, your weight will cater too far over to the left, but you don't want to put too much weight on the right side to where you can't actually do that rotation at all. So it goes doom, da doom. So I would say you let the, oh gosh, this is so interesting to troubleshoot. Ding, da ding. I would have my weight like 75% on the left leg, 25% on the right leg. I wouldn't have no weight on it, because you want to have some sense of groundedness in the position, and so that's why a lot of them has that. You can tell with her though that she didn't quite have as much weight on her leg as I feel like she could have used to make it look more natural. But it's so subtle, I don't really think it matters. And especially for earlier stuff, it's just fine. I just think it's really fun looking for different things like this. I really like the chest and how we're creating a lot of power through that. Really fun. And the subtlety from our feature here was really nice, where everybody else is being very powerful using of the chest and the back, and she's going da-da-na-na, na-na-na-na. It's nice. It's a vibe. And algo shipo, it's fun, cute little vibe there. And we throw at you and ooh, 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 and we make it ride her lyricism well. Doon, 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 doon. We drag it up, really nice. Formations, very nice. Switching of the lines, you just have a basic windowed formation. I've talked about windows before. Is where you have your baseline line, and then you have individuals that are in the gaps. So I would say spacing's a smidgen off here. She's going to be clocked as my feature because she's the furthest away from the rest of the group in spacing. Let's see if she is. She's not. So that would just be my general note. It could be where the camera is and how far back they are, or we're just clocking an angle that we're not supposed to really see. I think that's fine. I always love the one takes because they're just so enjoyable to watch. They're just fun. Da-na-na-na, voila. She's like, I don't know. You know, it's cool. Rotating it through, we sit on the true. They sit in that hip, really nice. And then from there, that's really fun where they go and they take the windows and they move it over, but they still have the ending of the formation as such in the every other, and then they pan it back to a straight line. I love it. Donna, so love you so. Then we dig it in, boom. I really love the dig of that. Really nice. And then from here, notice they're not bringing it in. It's all about the back of the hands for a lot of this choreo, where they're here. It goes across the face as such. And that is probably why it reminds me of Cats, because Cats, that's what I'm used to seeing, like the Broadway show, they're doing this kind of stuff. It's just, that's just what it's giving to me. I'm here for it though. It's like feline femme fatale is what we'll call it today. Notice the cleanliness of the first one to whenever we rotate to establish in every other, it feels very complete and it feels very captivating. And this part hits a lot more because of how clean they hit that very first punctuation with their arms extended. Really nice. Take their arms. There's your hips right there. Notice it's a figure eight horizontal, horizontal plane right here where they're hanging out right here. They're not going too high up. Da, 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 da. I like it. That's fun. And they go, Senorita, boom. So that's why when they say Senorita and they have that rotation, I equate it to like a Latin ballroom posture. Cool. Bringing it up, boom, boom. And then we kind of bleed it over from side to side, which is really fun. Bring it down, boom, bah, really nice. Coming up, Senorita. I love the twinkle in. Nice little surprise here where you have some subtlety, but there's a huge build exclamation right here before we chill it out. Love it. There's a lot of room where you can have and showcase your vibe, which I like. I like those types of opportunities, those picture moments, because they're not boring at all. Not a single part of this I'm like, okay, we're kind of ready to move on. It's a, oh, I can really see what we're going for here. And it's very enjoyable. Boom, da, da, da. I really like that where they throw that arm and then they reset it nice and subtly right there. And then we go, Senorita. Love the twinkle in. Great effect. That throw right there also looks nice. Bringing it through, boom, right there on the hip flexors, and we turn. This part is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. I love that. So what they're doing is they're taking their weight onto the heel of the right foot, and they want to keep wherever position that they're in, the toes are moving. So if you look, so they have it crossed, and they're basically just, you're unturning yourself, if that makes sense, because you have it crossed, you're uncrossing, but they're ending up recrossing, and what gives it the illusion and how still the torso is and how everything's locked up. The legs are straight. That you also have, as they move, they're letting the shoulder, head go, and they're creating this really nice subtle syncopation polyrhythmic moment while there's a speed change going on in the lower half. They're doing these accents, and that's what makes it feel more animated and more interesting than just them turning. It's so fun. And then you also have one of your features rotate, and she goes the opposite direction with the head, so it's complementary to everybody going to the back, but it feels like that was like one of the coolest feature reveals that they've done so far. That's so cool. And then they go and they keep going back to the front, and I love how she pulls her point to the front because it allows us to really see and be presented with that. Super fun. The pull in is really nice. I love the drag. Love that choice where they kind of look up to the sky. And we branch it right back in, looks great. Then they turn right back. Honestly, something I'm once again appreciating about this group is whenever they set up and they do a pivot of any kind, the pivot has intention. It's not just doing it for the sake of moving to a different spot. It's a how I'm going into it matters just as much as whatever move I'm choosing to add to it. It's very intentional. Every step that they're doing is intentional, and it feels that everything matters. And whenever you have this type of structure choreo, you have to let it matter, because the moment that you deviate from that, or the moment you're you're like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of go through the motions here, you'll be able to tell on a choreo like this, because the style in which the track is, some of the postures in which you need to present the movement as in order for us to see the visual connection, they're doing those things, which is why I'm not having any issue being like, that feels like it's a Latin influence, even though we know there's no Latin ballroom in here. It can give off that vibe. I can see some Latin ballroom people freaking kill it. You know what I mean? And I digress. I think it's so fun. This is so fun to look through and talk about. And I feel like I've been hearing a lot of like Latin influence tracks. It's because there's like ATEEZ's whole Golden Hour Part 1 just feels like a straight fiesta. Like that's what it's giving to me. FIFA World Cup, who, that's the soundtrack. Like, so I'm like, my brain is so saturated in that right now that is, it's just really fun to be able to see it here in the timing of watching this as well. That's so fun. That's so fun. The tension there, boom, and I like the little bevels that are taking place for that as well. The switch on that, boom, 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 really nice. And of course, having your feature, she peels it back, and I love this. Once again, like I said, they're doing a lot of framing of the face, but they're doing it their own way, so it feels complementary to all the other features we've seen in that position, but done in a way where it feels like her. Love it. I love the switch there. Love the posture of this. Really nice, very stoic, very strong. But notice that one of them has her weight. One of them okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about it. So you notice that my two girls right here they look different, right? She feels more neutral. She feels more stylized. Why is that? It's where your weight is, because she has her weight in the back leg and she's allowing the hip to sink into that. Not really sink, but rotate through it. And then you have, and so she doesn't really have a lot of weight here, but notice it's the opposite on this case. Her weight's here. Her weight is not on that back leg, so she's going to be, her body's going to be more shifted forward, and you can see that based on the line. Hers is, she has the liberty of placing more weight and delegating it to the back. So that's why these two look similar, but they're different in their hold. So if they were supposed to look a particular way, I really like how she's holding it, how Soyeon is. And that would be my in general, okay, let's make a decision when we rotate. Let's try to fight to have our weight in the back. And we allow this foot to still be planted, but we want it to have a little bit more, you know, more style there. It's not a full bevel. Like hers is up like it's about to be a bevel or a forced arch of some kind, but you notice she has a slight bend of the arch in the back, and that's why. It's because of where her weight is. So I think that's so fun. It's so fun to talk about differences in that way. Do they need to fix it? No, I don't care about that. They're not a group known for that. That's fine. But I like being able to talk through, that's why they may look subtly different. And those would be things, if you want to be known for synchronicity or you want to be like clean, you clean stuff like that. Like, where's your weight? People sometimes ignore two things: where your focal point and where your energy needs to be in a movement, and where's your weight in a movement or in a transition. So as you move, where your weight is distributed will determine the direction, the speed change, the dynamic, the texture, and how you're holding yourself in that rotation or in that transition itself. So it's so fun. There's your little cat. There's your cat vibes right there. I'm telling you. Right there, it literally looks like she pulled out a Glock, like in that moment. And I don't know if that was the intention, but that was a whole little vibe right there from her. Everybody goes, I love the melts, and notice that they're creating like a subtle snake in opposition to where the hip is going. Boom, boom. And it feels like we're trying to allow an arch to infiltrate in our posture. That's so cool. And I love this choice where you have Soyeon just letting it feel however she vibes with. Very nice. Then they take it boom, boom. I really love that swing, swing. That little boom, boom, boom. This part feels like we've changed genres entirely. Doesn't it? It feels like we're being enchanted with EDM or like with like an electronic beats. I'm here for it. Like a mystical, like just give me some fog and like and hypnotize me. Kind of feels like that. You know what I mean? There's that ooh so they're connecting once again. So I guess it could just be the fact that, I mean, because we have the same spacing thing over here of what we saw earlier, right? So I'm going to assume that's just where they were supposed to go because of the spacing and context of the other formations. Just makes it easier to do that, which I think is fine. Walking through, da-na-na-na-na. Boom, da-doom-doom. Notice they hit da-da-da with the rotation of the hip. Really nice. Da-da-da-da-da. Boom, cool. Very nice. I mean, for me, I'm looking forward to seeing her growth the most out of everybody because she has these little potential. She has such potential in some of these moments that I'm seeing, but I am noticing she does have a stiffer hold and carriage compared to everybody else for this style. but I'm kind of like, I'm fighting for her. I'm advocating for her. I love whenever I see people in the beginning of a marathon be like, I'm excited to see what they look like in the future. And the future is going to happen a lot sooner for me than most people. So I can't wait to see what happens to her movement quality. Ah, it's so fun. Anyway, I digress. Da, 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 da. And right here you have, it feels like, ooh, interesting. Let me see what's going on. So we have, I'm trying to make sense. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so they made it more sporadic. So she's doing right, 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 left, left, left. So it's even, but it's sporadic because you have one person in the front, one mid, two mid, back, 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 or mid. Like, there's not defined lines. And so it actually helps make this easier to kind of sporadic whose arm goes up where, because it does influence the direction they go to. You know what I mean? I mean, oh, it makes sense now. Gosh, Jess, you're being so silly. It's technically, there are lines. What am I doing? She's a little too far back. So this would need to be these two. She's in the middle, and they're in the back. That's why it works. Gosh, but it's also like the spacing's just subtly off to where it felt more popcorn, but it still worked. It's just a spacing thing. I'll get better, I promise. Now, ooh, and they take it, they drag that leg up. I really like that choice. That complements with the hand. And then they take a little trace. Notice it's not just a trace. They added a little hair moment, a head moment. That's what really helped sell it a lot more. And then they take it around, and they take the hands and they sink into it. Really nice choice. And a little shoulder roll, and then we, oh, stop it. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like a tease. It's like, oh, stop it. I know I'm a senorita. You know, oh, senor. Oh, I love it. In a straight line. And they take it down, up. I love that little bump of the bottom. We'll have to create that fun art. So, you know, I'm having like loads and loads of fun with this. Taking it around, bum, bum. I will say that first one, that strike in the first was so captivating. Here, that one felt more daintily placed, but that could just be because I'm already familiar with it, so I'm now comparing the textures. But I like the subtlety. It's fun. Senorita, bah. Really like that. Bring it up, ching, and then boom, boom, boom. Then you dip it down. Senorita, I think timing's just subtly off with some of them, like right next to each other. These two were off just a smidge, but nothing crazy. But I like that where they take and create a box transition, meaning that like when you think of box step or jazz square, it's a cross back side front. That's a box step as well, depending on what style. And I would call that a box formation, but through the transition, because you're making a box by crossing over people. But that's not something that's like, I don't know if that technically has like a name, but that's what it reminds me of in formation context comparison to like movement. So that's why I call it that. So hopefully it makes sense. If you happen to know, if you are a choreographer and you call it something different, let me know. Because I like updating my memory bank of what these things are called. I don't want to just take my word for it. I want to hear from others. But I like the pull right there. That was nice. Notice we have about half of them going one direction, then you have half going the other. Once you get a sporadic, it feels sporadic, right? But it works. So you have about 2 going over to the side, then you have 3, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, over to the other side. That looks really nice. Love it. Love it. I love that. Really love that little extra tension at the tail end of it. Super cool. And then she hits it. This part right here, I love the buildup of it, and I wish they had these big fluffy, or not fluffy, these big red grandest dresses so they could just, imagine some dresses in this bad boy. It'd be great. Also, side note, I've talked about it every single time now, and I will talk about it here. They were wearing stiletto-styled heels in their music video. Once again, the choreography looks so nice, even if they don't have heels on. That is so impressive to me. I'm like, we're 3 for 3 on that. Like, that's so cool. I love the consistency of that. Do I think we're gonna stay in this niche of era? I don't think so, because I've already seen, I think they had I-DLE, it was Hua. I've already seen Hua, but I hadn't seen the trilogy, so I'm gonna be able to make sense with that in a little bit. But I digress. I'm very, very excited to see where we go with this, because so far they're 3 for 3, killing it. And they, regardless if they're in shoes or in heels, they own it. Really nice. I do wish, I mean, I like the subtlety of it, and it would go well in a live context too. And they build it up. There's a da na 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 la da da. Oh, I love it. And what really helps with this too is I love with some of our girls, they're adding this little head tilt up. Oh, I'm here for it. That's so fun. And they pick it up, boom. So notice they're letting the hip go first, and then they take the knee to the inside, and they lift that heel, and then they reinstate to the front. So I like that little flick. Instead of flicking back, they're flicking and rotating to the side to create this little swivel effect in the air. I love that. Here we go, right there. They do a nice little rev up right here in the shimmy. That is something that I would see like when you're partying with more like Latin. You would see this vibe right here. I'm here for it. God, it's so cool. I love that part. Really nice strike of the leg. There, they take it, bring it around. You have your arms reestablished. It does feel, honestly, does remind me, because the track does give like Pink Panther detective mystery vibes. So in my case, in some of these choices, it does remind me of like we're thieves moving through. I don't think that was the intention, but I get it. Like my brain gets that because that's what my brain is thinking of. But like Plan Z over here. Like my brain has thought it, but I wasn't thinking it to be an influence in the choreo. But now I can't say that because that's exactly what that part reminded me of. That bump, 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 because now we're building up. We have these extra percussions in play. Bump, bump, bump. And then just bringing it through. Senorita! And they're like, yes, we're here. Boom, boom, here, over to the side. They have no issues with upper body presentation. Switching it through, boom, boom. I like the switch on that with the bevels, and then they reestablish it. Boom, 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 boom. So they finish with a bigger punctuation than how they were syncopating it earlier. So then from here, I like this part. Hoo, 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 hoo. Are they doing that? No, I don't think they're doing that. Maybe I overread into that. Huh? Yeah, boom, dun, 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 dun. Really nice. You could swish your skirt on that if you wanted, but they have their arms up too high, but they could have done that low. Personally, come on, that would be a little dream if Patreon would help me with this. If they have a dress version of this where they do use like a swishing of a dress for this stuff, I want to see it. So please find it for me if it does exist. But it's okay, I'll live without it. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. So this went on the hoos, and then this lower half just went on the 1, 2, 3, 4. Really nice. Then they hit it, tap, tap. Yep, din, dun, dun, cool. And then they take that leg, they envelope it. Now for me, I would always want to fight to have that 90 before they bring it back in. But in this case, I don't think they said, hey, we're doing an envelope. They just flicked it out, and then they brought it back in through passe. Then they swept it or did a little ranajam to pick that foot back up, and the passe, back to the straight line, and it goes over to the side. It kind of feels like this. I'm not going to lie, this is really hard. Oh my God, like that's really hard for me to do. Why? Why is that hard for, oh my, is it this? Oh, that's right. Okay, this is what the position, I was sitting here trying to freaking contort my hands like this, like, like, oh my God, just smarter, not harder. I just was rotating it the wrong way. So don't do what I did. If you have your hands, I'm telling you right now, if you're like, why can't I do it? You just saw me live on this camera. Have it rotate your pinkies, go to your face. Don't overshoot it and try to have your pinkies go the opposite way. You look, kiss your pinkies, boom. That's the position. Gosh, wow. You just saw a brain fart party of me just then. Bless it. That ending was so cute though, not gonna lie. That was really cute. This track is really nice. And somebody on Patreon did say this. They said that when it comes to a lot of these tracks, by themselves, they sound cool. You know, they sound fine. They sound, you know, trendy to the era, I would say. Kind of. I would say the spunkiness or the character that they play or the charisma that they exude is something that's, a lot of times it's not taught. And that's what really helps make this feel more timeless. Like, because I'm looking at this in 2024. So, and I still like it. Like, I like it. I probably would like it more back then because I don't have all this information of other things that I've seen. But I really like it though. And I think that it stands the test of time. I think we're 3 for 3 for that. And that is, hats off to you, choreographer. That's always a choreographer's dream, is to create choreo that it showcases art, showcases the perspective of the artist, but also stands the test of time and it doesn't look dated. That's really cool. So This gets a thumbs up. I really liked this. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more G-Idle, I probably have it. I got it on YouTube, but I will always have more on Patreon. And whenever G-Idle has a comeback, I take a look at their content as quick as I can, and it goes on Patreon. But then my YouTube follows the schedule, and you will not see the G-Idle stuff until they have a dance practice released, hopefully, for things like that. And of course, we take it case by case, but my point stands of if you want access to G-Idle as I make it, Patreon's going to be the safest and best bet to make that happen. And hopefully by the time that this gets released, I'll be done with my marathon, but who knows? I mean, I'm excited. Hopefully they'll have a comeback soon so we can hang out with them earlier, you know? So, but once again, my name is Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.